It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, October 21st, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that really thinks this top line is getting going.
It's going good.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com. You can win $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, you said it in our post-game recap that's up on our YouTube channel, but this was a complete game by the Philadelphia Flyers, and I can't argue with that. They did most things right in this game.
Yeah, this was one where they really, played it start to finish. It was the first one that you saw them, click on most cylinders. And, really Dan Vladar's gaff really is the only thing that really gave them any life. So, yeah, it was a big win.
It really was. And of course, it is Tuesday. We will get to our Phantoms Tuesday report a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I think, the other small, nitpicky thing that you can say is that they kind of squandered some power play opportunities with
Oh, yeah.
penalties of their own. And the penalties are something we've talked about thus far. And that's definitely an issue in the grand scheme of things that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But I think in this game, it obviously didn't factor in the end result and the dominance of the Flyers in the end result. It didn't make the game close by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but they did have to kill, 5 of 6. So you don't want to have to do that every game.
You do not. And I think that part of that is what led to having maybe not your quote unquote top power play unit out there when you would have otherwise based on the penalties that were taken. And that also worked out for the Flyers in the end,
Right.
right?
Yeah, in the end, it did work out. No doubt about it.
So I think, when you see Tyson Foerster get a couple of goals in a game, and you also have Owen Tippett get a couple of goals in a game, I think that is the balance that you want to see in the Flyers right now when you have the Cates line producing, but then you also have that top line producing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's going to push the Flyers forward.
Yeah, I mean they need to have at least 2 lines going, and so that is a really big deal, no question about it. They got some push from the blue line that helped too.
Yeah, and we'll get to the blue line, but talking about, Owen Tippett, he's got 5 goals in 6 games now with 0 assists again, which is
Weird.
bizarre, but does not reflect his play. That is for
No,
sure,
no,
because
no.
he has been passing
Hmm.
pretty well. It just, hasn't gone in when he's done that. But I think that is important. I think Trevor Zegras, he's loading up on a bunch of assists and making some really excellent plays in addition to the highlight reel one that he had earlier, from behind the net. He's continuing to provide opportunities for his line mates.
He's doing mostly good. He did have a horrendous turnover that Vladar had to stop a shot point blank, and so like right now I'm happy for his points, but if Rick Tockett's going to pick on Michkov for not having a complete game, then he needs to pick on Zegras too. To be fair.
Yeah, so let's talk about Michkov
Hmm.
because I think this was a much better game from him. And I think that there were some things that Michkov made mistakes on or had a couple errant passes, but he played through it. And that's
He
all
did.
we're asking for, right?
Yeah, he had a nice assist. I think he had 1 or 2 shots on net that were real good. So it was a better game. He was more reflective of the kind of play that you expect to see out of him.
Yeah, so definitely happy with that. Now we did see Jett Luchanko and Nikita Grebenkin check back into the game
Yeah,
for Abels and Delorier. We talked about Abels in the last
we did.
game recap and talking about how his face-offs are a really good asset, and maybe there's a way to like leave Abels in, but also get Grebenkin and Luchanko the ice time they need, and I still firmly believe that. That being said, I think Grebenkin's game was really interesting. I mean,
It
the
was.
was definitely one where again, I've said it, I'm not huge into fights anymore. I think hockey is somewhat outgrown the need for fights as a sport overall. But that being said, if you're going by the current code of what constitutes a good fight, that was a good fight.
Yeah, no question. I mean, look, these days it's almost like teams just get mad at hits. It wasn't a dirty hit on Hathaway, but hey, he was sticking up for a teammate. That's fine. That's always good.
Right.
It fired the team up. It did put him out of the game for a long time, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that part worked out. As far as Jett Luchanko, he had one good play. That penalty was really bad in the third period. They were giving him
Yeah.
some opportunity. I mean, honestly, they do need to send him back. If they were to send him back, this would clear up a lot of other things for them. I feel like now Rick Tocchet feels obligated to play him until he's going to send him back whenever that team makes the decision. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's getting harder to justify it, but I'm still apprehensive given the Guelph
No,
situation.
they won the
So
other night, so maybe they're a little better.
Okay. Well, I'm just still a little apprehensive about it. And, give them one or two more games and let's see where we are at that point, is kind of my take on it. But I think they can decide sooner than that 9-game threshold.
Oh
That is
yeah.
for sure, based on how the rest of the Flyers team is playing and getting other players opportunities as well in there. I think that is kind of the next course of action there. We've talked a little bit about Dan Vladar in net. It is absolutely clear that he's the top
He's the number
goaltender
one.
now. I think there's no other way to look at it. And
No.
he had another very solid game, as you said, except for that one mistake, which, ultimately didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And when, the Flyers chase another goalie out and have
Mhm.
a good performance from their own goalie, like that's a double win in my
Yeah, no, that's a
estimation.
big win, but they have to talk to him. He's got to clean that up. His little bit of indecision with puck handling is something that we had been talking about, just talked about at the last show. So yeah, other than that, he was very solid.
Yes, he was. Power play looked really good. And I know we talked a little bit about the particular units there, but I think, again, when you see the results, and they did, mention it on the broadcast
Well, they
about,
didn't really. They were basically like, well, there's not really a one or a two. No, there is a one and a two. Like the fact that they said there wasn't a one and a two was not right. We know which is the one, we know which is the two, and we know the two has been doing better. And that's been a fact for a while now.
sure, that point is valid. And I think, the Kate's line, being the second unit, really being the first unit, it is there. I
Yeah.
was just going to go in the direction of the broadcast talking about how some of the stats are going to be a little skewed because of like the 4-second power play
Sure, but it
that
adds
they
to the
got.
penalty kill too for them. The same thing happened to
Sure.
Seattle. So it's like, it's
Yeah,
nebulous.
I don't think that matters, but in terms of the execution and the quality of the execution of the Flyers power play that we've seen in the last couple of games here, but the numbers may not reflect that, is all I'm getting at here in terms of, something the broadcast did bring up. But yeah, I think, the other aspect of the power play that I'm loving is Cam York. I think he's just doing a really effective job at distributing the puck and keeping the puck in the zone.
He has. I mean, look, this was a really good game. This was not a good game for Jamie Drysdale. And so Cam York should be on the power play. If you want to use York and Sanheim, then take
Mhm.
Drysdale off it. I had a conversation with someone the other day. They were like, well, if you take Drysdale off the power play, what is he? And I'm like, that's not the coach's problem. Like there's other defensemen here. Like Zamula had a good game, for the times that we've said
He
he
did.
hasn't had a good game. Like right now, Jamie Drysdale is the weak link on defense. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I do want to talk more about Cam York, though. 3
Mhm.
assists in the game,
Yep.
really excellent across the board. I only saw like 1 or 2 little things from him that maybe
Yeah, no,
didn't
he had a
go
good
his
game.
way,
Yeah.
but he had a really good game. I loved the distribution in particular on the first Foerster goal. I
Yeah.
thought that was great. And again, I know you don't like it when they don't score on the 6-on-5, but that delayed penalty 6-on-5 time, like the amount of time they spent in the offensive zone on that was really remarkable. And Cam York, especially his work on that, I thought was pretty excellent.
It was good. Yeah, there's no question. It was all really good. Yeah, you do want the other end result, but no, the possession time was good.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, a really great game overall.
Yep.
Really excited. It was my mom's birthday, so I was glad
Oh,
she
that's
got a
nice.
win on her birthday. In the meantime, we have some of our prospects to talk about down in Lehigh Valley. We are going to get to them coming up next.
The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting. And when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. Again, pick the Jets for the worst record. They're 0-7 now. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougier comes in. Rougier offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougier makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. Visit Rougier.com/lockedon to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougier.com/lockedonnhl. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougier, stop making excuses and start making moves.
All right, on tomorrow's show, we are going to look at some of the veteran performances so far. Last week, about this time, we looked at some of the rookies. So we're going to
Mhm.
dig into guys like Sean Couturier and Travis Konechny and Travis Sanheim and see how they're stacking up this season so far. Plus, we are going to answer your mailbag questions. So make sure you get those in. You can message us on any of our socials. You can email us at lockdownflyers@gmail.com, or you can comment on our YouTube channel. It is Tuesday, so we will, of course, be discussing the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And this was a really interesting weekend for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. They had a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday against the Cleveland Monsters,
Mhm.
and they came away with 2 wins,
Yeah.
Russ.
No, that's a good weekend. I was watching some of it. I think overall they're looking good as a team. They still have some young players that are still learning too. So coach is doing a good job.
I think so. And, obviously, as we know, that's what the AHL is for. It's to
Yep.
develop prospects. And I think that the plan seems to be in place, and they're going to have some bumps along the way for
Yeah.
sure, both figuratively and literally with Alex Bump on the
Yep.
team. But that being said, I think one of the things we talked about last weekend coming into these 2 particular games was the possibility of a goaltending matchup between Aleksei Kolosov on the Phantoms and Ivan Fedotov on the Cleveland Monsters. We got that
Yep.
on Friday. Aleksei Kolosov comes away with the 3-0 shutout. And I think so. We won, basically, is
Yeah. I
what I'm
mean,
saying here.
okay. Aside from that, no, it's a good effort, and it's always good to get a shutout, and that's good for Kolosov. Yeah, he's off to a good start.
He really is. That was a 35 save shutout, by the way. And in a wild coincidence, the shot totals were the exact same for
That's
both
weird.
games, despite the different scores. It was 35 shots for Cleveland and 27 for the Phantoms in each of those two games. Of course, with the Phantoms winning 3-0 on that first game, and Carsen Bjarnason was in net for the second game that the Phantoms won in a 3-2 shutout there. So both goaltenders actually had really good performances. And I would say that even the goal that the Phantoms let in to allow Cleveland to tie it up to force that overtime and then eventually went to the shutout, it was not really Carsen Bjarnason's fault, I would say, per
Well,
se.
yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm just happy to see the Phantoms be able to just perform well in a shootout. They have some real options now.
They do. They really do. Bjarnason had 33 saves on 35 shots. It was his first win of the season, which was really good for
Yep.
him to get under his belt. And it feels like the Phantoms are comfortable playing in front of both of these guys right now. And that's really important.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, everybody's well, not everybody's new, but there's a lot of new combinations out there. The goaltending's new. Kolosov only played a short time there last year, so yeah, there's some good continuity there already.
There really is. Now, looking at the team overall now, they're off to a very good start. They're 3-1 to start the season. We haven't seen any 3-game weeks that we're gonna,
Yeah,
start getting into now, but still a very good start. They've got those 2 wins in a row. The standings are what they are this early in the season. You can't really put any weight in it, really, but they're in fourth in the division as of now, with teams playing somewhere between 4 and 6 games
right.
per team at this point. I think you have to start off strong here. And that's
You
something
do.
the Phantoms have struggled with in the
Hmm.
past. And so it's good to see that, the systems are kind of clicking into place. And I see some similarities between the Phantoms and the Flyers in terms of the defensive structure kind of coming into focus a little bit earlier than the offensive side of things.
Yeah, like this is a good start. Obviously, there are teams that are better because they're in fourth, but it's a good start over a bad start. So I'm not going to make too much of it, but I'd probably make more out of it if it was a bad start. So at least it's not that.
Right, exactly. But I do think that defensively they're looking really disciplined
Yeah.
overall. I think, there's some penalty problems
Hmm.
here, but I think there's a lot of issues with that in the neutral zone while things are on the move. I think, they're not taking too many really bad penalties while they're in the defensive zone, just doing regular sorts of stuff. And I do make that distinction there because I think it is important, and I do think there is room for improvement
Hmm.
on some things. But I do think that the systems that John Snowden are putting into place are starting to work. We did see Emil Andre come back to the
Hmm.
Phantoms this weekend, which was, I think, bad for the Flyers, but good for the Phantoms
Definitely good for them.
here. Gilbert was also sent down, so we got to see him with the Phantoms. The
And
only little,
coincidentally, with Andre there, their power play is a little better than the Flyers' power play. Just saying.
yes, I think so. But the other little interesting roster note is that Massimo Rizzo was sent down to Reading, and he's just kind of been a
He's
missing
never
link.
rebounded from like the
Yeah.
injuries of last year, and so yeah, it's just rough. That's what happens sometimes. It could derail a guy. He has some talent, but it happens.
And it is interesting to see that the Phantoms defense is playing structurally well because they're missing 2 key pieces
Hmm.
still in Ethan Sampson and Oliver Bonk. And, it's not clear when those guys may or may not be returning to the
I mean, it's
lineup,
not
but
it's not only not clear, it's very muddy, especially with Bonk, because I mean, this goes back to training camp. We've never gotten an update, and this is a long time already. Like, I don't know what to say. We don't have any information.
No, and additionally, Devin Kaplan was scratched on Saturday. And we know on the forward side of things that there is a rotation happening because
Right.
they have like 16 guys there. And so now with Rizzo and a couple other guys were sent down to Reading too.
Yeah.
But I think they are looking to get different guys in and look at different
Yeah, sure.
combinations to see what works. So I'm not like worried, but the fact that there was just no information whether it was part of the rotation or it was injury related, that is of slight concern to
Like
me at
even the
this time.
broadcast didn't know, right? So I mean, nobody knows.
Correct. Right. So I think that's just something to keep an eye on.
Mhm.
And I say that because we had like some success on Friday that was unable to be repeated because Kaplan was scratched.
Right.
And so, we'll get into that in terms of, players that looked
Mhm.
really good and all of that coming up in the next segment. But I do want to talk about the penalties that the Phantoms took because while they are taking too many penalties at this point, they've been shorthanded 25 times this season. So, in this short season so far, and that is the most in the AHL. However, they only have 3 goals against in those 25 chances, so they're 9th in the AHL overall in terms of PK percentage, and
Right.
so it's holding pretty
Yeah, but you
decently.
don't want to tax it early in the season.
No, you do not. So, again, early goings,
Yeah.
but it's just something that they're gonna have to continue to try and button up with the penalties. I will say that there were some questionable calls in the Saturday game,
Okay.
especially there was one in particular against, Emile Andre that I was just, like, floored. I had no idea what the officials were
Okay.
calling on him there, but just a little thing of note as far as that goes, and there is room for improvement on the power
Mhm.
play. It's decent, but it there's always room for
Right.
improvement there.
For
So
sure.
they were 0 for 3 on Friday, but 2 for 4 on Saturday. It was one of these weird things where until the game tying goal from Cleveland on
Yeah.
Saturday, all of the goals were on power plays for
It
both
happens
sides.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot to talk about with some other individual performances. Definitely want to look at that prospect line that we were talking about from the Friday game, and we are going to do that coming up next. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. So if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch can help you. It does all the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes. You'll see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending. You'll finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Monarch helps you notice inefficient investment allocations. You can discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. You'll save even more money, which you can then turn around and reinvest. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, so I do want to talk about that prospect line that John Snowden put together on Friday with Karsen Dorwart centering Alex Bump and Devin Kaplan.
Mhm.
And they looked so good
Mhm.
in that game, just tremendously impressive. They were responsible as a unit for 2 of the 3 goals that the Phantoms scored in that game, but they had really excellent puck movement.
Yeah.
They seem to anticipate each other's positioning really well, and I love it, and I would like to see it again, please.
Yeah, no, I saw some highlights of it. It's really good. I think Kevin DeWart in the middle there really does help. And so yeah, I mean that's good. That's a line that's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and then you saw on Saturday with Kaplan not in the lineup, they put Samu Tuabala there, who had been a scratch in that game, and it just was not the same.
No.
Like, and I don't want to call it like the Kate's line junior, but there's a potential there.
Yeah, there is a potential. I think at some point they might want to just trade to Amala and include him in a deal, give him a fresh start.
Yeah, I think so. Now, one of the other things about having that particular line is that for Denver Barkey, I think it's creating a really challenging scenario here. So he's been on a line with Peterson as the center and Carl Grundstrom, the new acquisition from the
Yeah.
Sharks, on the other wing. And so Grundstrom is an NHL veteran. And I think
Yeah.
it's good to have Peterson and Grundstrom with Barkey,
Hmm.
but with Grundstrom kind of late to the game, and Peterson was pretty late in terms of being sent down in camp.
Right.
It it's a little bit of a learning curve for those three as a line coming together, and I think that it's taken a little bit for Barkey to warm up to that and to kind of, especially because this is his first pro season. I think it's both good for him, but it's been a little bit of an adjustment, which then came to fruition finally in Saturday's game where he got on the board for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's mostly good in the sense that he has veterans with him. I think straight line. He's got a little bit more of a speed burst, not side to side. That's something he's got to really work on. But
Right.
the things that I like is, yeah, sure, offensively, he's looking for the puck. He's making good plays. He's hanging for a few seconds in the dirty areas. He's trying that way, but he's not really aggressive on defense at all. Like he's just doing a little stick work and really just kind of like faking it almost with the stick. And I can't imagine the coach is going to go with that a lot longer because we see what Matvei Michkov is under pressure. He's under at the NHL level. At some point, they're going to tell Barkey, like, he's mainly only playing high and looking to go the
Right.
other way. And he's not really helping the overall team defense down low at all. Like he doesn't even go halfway sometimes. So I think that's something that they have to discuss with him.
Right. And I think that when you look at Grunstrom in particular, he's still adjusting to post trade. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been like, 2 weeks
Yeah.
with the organization. And, at a certain point, he is a professional and he shouldn't like know what
Yeah.
he's doing. But also, like we said last week, we want to give him some grace in terms
No,
of
that's fair.
getting ramped up. I would say, another week or two from now, like we should not have those
Right.
discussions.
Right.
But I think that he is also, as the veteran, feeling a lot of the defensive pressure on that line.
Yeah.
For like absolutely. And that's why I don't think we've seen him contribute as much offensively as he's not like an offensive powerhouse
He's
by
not.
any means. But I think at the AHL level, he could be in
Yeah, he
more
definitely could give
so,
more.
right?
Yeah, he definitely could give more. I mean, other than Kaplan, nobody has really taken the offensive reins of this club. That's the one thing that you could say
Well,
because
I somewhat disagree with that, but
point wise, I look at the point totals. The point totals tell the story. I mean, go ahead. What
well,
do you
Anthony
disagree with?
Richard also has 4 points.
Right.
So same number of 2 goals, 2 assists. They have the same. And I was
Okay.
going to bring him up as like one of the other guys that's contributing here. But,
I'm
I will
looking for
say,
more than even that. But okay, I guess I'm greedy.
yeah, I mean, there is room. I mean, they've only played 4 games.
I know.
So we do have to repeat that. But
Sure.
I do think with Grunstrom, we should be seeing a little bit more from him
Hmm.
over these next couple weeks. And we did see the shootout winner from
Right.
him.
And it was a good shot.
On
I saw
It
that.
was a great shot. Honestly, everybody else in that shootout on both teams was skating and slow and meandering and
Yeah. No,
trying
he was
some fancy
decisive.
move. And he was like, nah, we're done with this. And just
Right.
skated down quickly and took
Yeah.
the shot, roofed it and won. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Very decisive.
appreciated that
Yeah.
decisiveness from him a lot. And so I will be looking for more from him there. But I do think Anthony Richard took a little bit to get into it, but this
Hmm.
weekend looked much better.
Hmm.
A goal on Friday, a goal Saturday. He's at a point per game thus far. Devin Kaplan, to your point, is the only guy who's above a point per game because with the scratch, he's got 4 points in 3 games versus the
Right.
4 points in 4 games there. But I think, as far as guys who are taking a ton of shots, Peterson's taking a ton of shots. Alex Bump is taking a ton of shots. So that's good to see from guys on different
Well, in some
lines.
games. I mean, I don't think 10 in all of his games is a ton of shots. I think he could shoot more. I'd actually like to see him shoot more.
Right. I mean, I think there's more shot attempts than that. So
Oh,
in
no, I'm
terms of
sure there's a few more. Yeah, he's got to hit the net more for sure.
yeah, but I think that we do need to see a little bit more of that, up and down the lineup, that it can't just be like two lines doing all of the work here. But again, Snowden is mixing and matching. So until they sort of settle on a couple of lines or three lines, I would say I'm not going to worry too much about it at this point. But
I
I
mean,
think
I will say this. I'm looking, and they're kind of in the middle of pack for goals. They're just lucky
yeah.
that they're getting good goaltending. So that's basically where I'm at. Like, I need to see more goals from them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that, we can and should see more scoring from these particular prospects, but I do think that they're off to a good start and the potential is there. And
Mhm.
it just feels different, to be
Yeah,
honest.
sure. No doubt.
Like it feels like there's a sense of a mission and a sense of, a solid system,
Mhm.
which did not exist last year.
No, I agree with that. I think that is a definite truth.
And there's a confidence that this system that they're working within is going to achieve
Yeah.
results, that even if the scoring isn't where they want it to be right
Mhm.
now, it can get there
Yeah.
if they execute. And the players know it's on them because the system is there and the
Right. No,
structure is there.
I agree. I think John Owen forced the system, and I think they'll do better.
Yeah, and as always, like I would prefer Emil Andre to be with the Flyers, but him and Grants together are a great D pairing
Oh, yeah.
for the first pairing, and they've been playing very well. I do want to see more from McDonald. I feel like
Mhm.
he kind of blends in to the background a little bit right now, but
Yeah, I would
we know that he
say
can do better.
that goes back to camp. People had some high expectations of him going into camp. He didn't meet them. He's not meeting them yet.
Yeah, but a lot of opportunities coming up this week. There's a
Oh, yeah.
game tomorrow, Wednesday, at Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Then we've got a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday. That's a home and home with the Hershey Bears, which is always a good time,
Always
right?
fun. Oh, yeah.
So we will talk about those three games on next week's Phantoms Tuesday report. We will be back tomorrow to talk Flyers veterans so far this season, as well as answer your mailbag questions. So make sure you get those in. You can send them to us via any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. It's every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale with NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.